So, 2 TV reviews for you from independent experts. Remember, the Sound Advice experts tend to work as journalists and they are fiercely proud of their independence from the manufacturers, which means we can just show you the stuff we think is the best and ignore all the rest of it. So first up, here's Simon Lewis reviewing the Sony A95K OLED TV. Take it away, Simon.
Well, I've been looking at the Sony XR55 A95K QD OLED television, which is a brand new QD OLED TV and a brand new technology. Samsung developed QD OLED. This is the same Samsung that swore it would never get involved in OLED technology, and the only way it's been able to involve itself in this is by finessing the technology to a point that they can call it something else. QD OLED is designed to retain all of the strengths of OLED television, the wide viewing angles, the deep black tones, the pixel level contrasts, and address the one perceived shortcoming of OLED, which is its brightness or its lack thereof. Obviously Samsung manufactures these panels, but it'll sell them to anyone if the price is right. They've sold some to Sony. Sony have fitted their cognitive processor XR to look after all of the picture quality, and the result is a range called A95K. I've had the 55-inch version on the bench, and very impressive it is too, as it should be at the money. It's, in picture quality terms, I suppose first things first, it's not super bright, which is kind of the reason that QD OLED was developed, was to address this brightness issue. It's not super bright, it's not really that much brighter than the brightest OLED panels that LG manufacture. But what it does do with the bright tones is to offer them real detail and real variation and not just bleach them out. So the contrasts are even wider than you would normally expect from an OLED TV. In every other respect, it's OLED business as usual, which is good news, right? It's blacks are deep and they're varied and they're detailed. The color balance is lovely once you've trawled through the setup menus. And the viewing angles are excellent. On a technical level, it's got a couple of its HDMI inputs are 2.1 compatible, and that's across the board. So if you've got a next generation games console or something, then Sony's 4K at 120 Hertz, ALLM, VRR, HGig, all the magic abbreviations are in place, and it'll really maximize your next gen console experience, especially if you've got a Sony console. In terms of sound, Sony's been fitting actuators to its OLED TVs for a while now, which basically turns the entire screen into a speaker. And for the A95K, the screen itself is reinforced by a couple of rear-firing subwoofers. So for a television that doesn't even have a visible sound system, it's actually very agreeable indeed in the way that it sounds. Really, to make an improvement on a TV with an integrated sound system, you'd have to buy a Philips with a Bowers & Wilkins system or a Panasonic with a Technics. Sony knows exactly what it's doing with this technology now, and it works really well. It's quite chunky sounding by the standards of televisions. It's detailed. Sony likes it so much, in fact, that it's fitted spring clips on the back of the TV so that the TV itself can be the center channel in your surround sound system if you fancy that. Don't fancy that. What else can I tell you? The stand. Stand is excellent. Stand lets you can fit the big chunky stand to the front or to the back of the screen. If you fit it to the back, the screen leans back just a little bit in the for the sake of good viewing angles, and is basically invisible. If you fit it to the front, it means the screen can go right back, almost flush to the wall. It's not the slimmest television you've ever seen. A lot of the appeal of OLED is how slim they are, or can be. This one isn't. This one's over 4 centimeters deep, which is a bit of a throwback, but I guess you have to keep your actuators and your subwoofer somewhere. At launch, this is the thick end of £2,700 at launch, and this is a 55-inch television, so there's no two ways about it. This is a pricey machine. You can buy 55-inch OLED TVs that perform beautifully and that you'd be delighted with for quite a lot less more money than this. But if you want to be an early adopter and get in on the QD OLED ground floor, and you want a TV that sounds great even though it looks like it's not going to be able to make a sound at all, and you want to attach your next gen console to it and exploit all of the great features of that, as well as just enjoy watching a lovely television, then here's the Sony XR55 A95K.
Well, I'm glad for that money. It's not just a lovely television. But Simon, what's it like to live with? When you do reviews like this, how long do you spend putting a TV through its paces and getting to know all the tech?
I think televisions reveal themselves reasonably quickly. I mean, when you get a telly out of the box and you put it on the stand, that's just, that's the start of it. A TV, especially TVs that are technologically extremely complicated, can take a lot of setting up. When you take them out of the box, they're kind of ready to look good in the showroom, which when it's in the home is just quite like being shouted at. So you need to go through all of the setup menus, and there are plenty of setup menus on this telly, and finesse it to the point that you're happy with. But that's easily done. The remote control is quite useful in that respect. It's quite a nice handset. You get two with this TV, and one of them is horrible and one of them is good. So, you put the horrible one out of the way somewhere. So setup can be a bit laborious, but it's all fine. And once that is done, this is a very painless television to live with. It does what it's supposed to do. It's quite responsive. And it's a treat to watch. It's not the greatest upscaler. 4K content looks amazing, of course, and the full HD stuff that you might get off a Blu-ray disc or from a broadcast TV station looks great too. But if you like to watch daytime telly and repeats of the Sweeney or something, the Sony struggles quite a lot to upscale really antiquated content. But that's, you didn't spend £2,700 on a telly in order to watch the Sweeney, I hope.
Well, I admit watching the Sweeney isn't top of my list, personally. And has this TV hit the shops already, or when is it due for release?
Yeah, no, it's on sale now. It's been on sale for a few weeks, I think. Sony, like everybody else, can be pretty guarded about the success or otherwise of products in the first few months that they're launched. But even if sales aren't enormous, interest will be, because QD OLED, it's been 5 minutes since the last new television technology, so we are overdue one, and QD OLED is it. And so on a technological level, it's very interesting, and people will be interested. Like I say, it's $2,699. It's a lot of money for a 55-inch TV, even one that's at the cutting edge. But nevertheless, some people need to be the first with new technologies, and if they want to be first with QD OLED, then it's not like they're going to be chucking money away on this.
Thank you very much, Simon. So there you go, a good option for those wanting to explore QD OLED. And Simon is in the chat right now. So if you have any questions for Simon, just pop them in and hopefully he can help you out looking at that. If you've got a specific question about the Sony, perhaps. But we also have Steve back with us now. Thanks for joining us again, Steve. And you've been taking a look at a different television. It's the Samsung S95B, which is also a QD OLED panel. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. I think Simon's done a great job there of explaining how QD OLED works. I won't repeat what he said, but as he did point out, it's a Samsung technology. So they're making TVs with QD OLED, and they've sold panels to Sony, who are also making TV with QD OLED. So I think an interesting comparison would be how the Samsung compares to the Sony. And the first thing I can say is they are considerably cheaper. So the 55-inch S95B is $1,899, and the 65 inches, for the one that I had in for review, is $2,799, which is basically the same price as the 55-inch Sony. So big difference in price. Same panel, so that's no difference at all. So basically the difference between the two TVs really is in terms of cosmetics and in terms of the other features that they offer. So performance-wise, the S95B is excellent, superb TV. All the things you'd expect from an OLED, the deep blacks, the fantastic contrast performance, the precise highlights in HDR. Also very bright, well over 1,000 nits when I tested it, which is excellent for an OLED TV. And as Simon mentioned, you get really rich, pure colors thanks to the quantum dot filters. It's interesting, he made a comment about Samsung not not being very nice about OLED for the last decade. And interestingly, in their marketing, they don't refer to it as a QD OLED. They just refer to it as an OLED. So they aren't making a big deal about the fact it's a different tech or a different approach to the technology. But it is, as he said, it is slightly different from say, LG's OLED TVs. But yeah, it's got a great picture. The upscaling and image processing is superb. It's one of Samsung's strong points. Design-wise, it's a very sleek, attractive TV. It doesn't look vastly different from the LG and other manufacturers, but I like it. I think it's simple. It's got a nice small stand that you can easily fit onto a smaller surface. You can be easily wall-mounted. It comes with Samsung's Tizen Smart platform, which I really like. It's got a comprehensive selection of streaming apps. So regardless of who you're subscribing with, whether it's Netflix or Amazon or Disney Plus or Apple, whoever, they're all there, plus all the UK catch-up services. It's a slick platform that's easy to navigate and to use, gives you plenty of recommendations. My only criticism would be, as I alluded to earlier in this live show, that they don't support Dolby Vision. Samsung don't support Dolby Vision on any of their TVs, and they haven't up until now. Quite why is a bit of a mystery. I think they don't like the idea of a third party being involved in their tech. But to be honest, I think they're probably losing sales because people do tend to tick boxes when they're buying new TVs. And given that most of the streaming services do use Dolby Vision to deliver HDR, people think, well, I want that on my TV. So it's a strange choice by Samsung, and I think it might be shooting themselves in the foot a little bit with it. But it doesn't support Dolby Vision. It does support HDR10, which is a sort of the basic version of HDR, and HLG, which is used for broadcast HDR. And it does support HDR10 Plus, which is Samsung's alternative to Dolby Vision, but most people don't use it, so it's not widely supported, unfortunately. Interestingly, in terms of the audio side of things, it's not the best TV for audio, I have to say. Although I would recommend if you're buying a really good TV like this, you should also invest in a sound bar and give it a really good sound system. It can output Dolby Atmos to say a sound bar via EARC. It's HDMI output. But it doesn't decode it internally. And although Samsung claim it has their object tracking sound system, it has nothing like the number of speakers that you'll find in their high-end LCD TVs, in their QLED TVs. So that's something to be aware of. Unlike the Sony, all 4 HDMI inputs are HDMI 2.1. So whether no matter how many gaming consoles you're using, you can take full advantage of that. So that's a definite play. I don't understand why Sony only do 2 out of 4 on flagship TVs, but on the Samsung, all 4 support it. It doesn't have the One Connect box, which is a feature you'll find on some of Samsung's other flagship TVs. That's quite a cool feature where it means your connections are all separate and there's just one cable going up to the TV. It doesn't have that. All the connections are actually on the TV itself. It does come with the solar-powered remote control, which is great because it means you don't have to change the batteries. It's more eco-friendly. Overall, it's a very slick, very competitively priced package that performs extremely well, and it includes filmmaker mode, something that's also not on a Sony. And that does exactly what it says on the tin. Basically, it's a picture preset that's been developed by filmmakers, so that when you select that, you're seeing what they want you to see in terms of their color accuracy, in terms of things like turning off motion smoothing, so it doesn't look like cheap video, things like that. So I've got to say, overall, it's a great package. It's very competitively priced for what is essentially a new tech, and it looks cool, and it's very, very intuitive to use. So a big thumbs up from me.
And just one last quick question about this one. When Simon reviewed the Sony just now, he said that it had ALLM, VRR, HGig, all the magic abbreviations, specifically for gamers. So you've mentioned using this telly for watching television and for watching films. Is it also suitable for gamers?
It absolutely is. It has all of the features that Simon's just mentioned. Plus, it has an incredibly low input lag, 9.2 milliseconds. So, blink and you miss it. That's if you're a gamer, this is a great TV for gaming. Not only does it have all the gaming features and a very low input lag, it also has a thing called a game bar, which shows you all of your various gaming settings in one easy to see sort of a bar on the bottom of the screen you can bring up during the game and then get rid of once you're finished looking at it. So I think this is a superb gaming TV. And my only caveat would be TV, as with all OLED TVs, if you are a big gamer who's prone to, say, 12-hour marathon gaming sessions, then do be careful of not having a static image up for too long, because whilst these days screen burn is very rare, you can get some image retention on an OLED sometimes. So just bear that in mind. But otherwise, this is definitely a top draw TV for gamers.
Okay, and one last practical question. So earlier on, we were talking about the size of televisions. We've had a question in from someone living in central London in a small flat. So my sofa is 3 metres from the wall. What size TV would you say is sensible at that distance?
Well, the general guideline is a viewing distance is 1.5 times the diagonal size of the screen. So if it was 50 inches, then you'd be technically 75 inches away. But obviously, because resolution is much higher these days, you can sit very close to a TV without seeing any kind of pixel structure. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. I only sit about 3 foot from the screen when I'm testing TVs, and I've had 85-inch TVs in for review, which initially it just seemed ludicrous, but you very quickly get used to them. And then when they get taken away and you put back a 55-inch TV, it looks like a postage stamp. So I wouldn't worry too much about, like I said at the beginning of the show, go for the biggest TV you can afford and you can physically fit in the room. But the more immersive it is, in my opinion, the better the experience, particularly if you're a gamer. I mean, if you're immersed in the game, you can really enjoy it. So technically the rule is 1.5 times the screen size, but I would push that if I was you. I'd go big. Go big. That's always my advice when it comes to TVs.
And if you're going to sit that close to a big TV to test it, the peripheral vision must be kicking in. But thank you very much for your practical advice and your review of the Samsung to go with the review of the Sony that Simon just did. So thank you very much for joining us and doing that.